and welcome back to Aidans Railways. Today I thought we'd have a look at Oliver, the Great Western 1400 class locomotive, number 11 on the island of Sodor. Now Oliver works on the Little Western branch line with Duck, who we've seen on a previous video. Now in the stories, Oliver does have two Great Western auto coaches by the names of Isabel and Dulcie. Now I've already purchased one auto coach ready for conversion, and hopefully we'll have another one soon and we'll do a video on that. And he also has a brake van, as I'm sure you know, by the name of Toad, and we'll have a look at him later on in this video. This particular Oliver model is the Bachmann version. Now I always wanted to get a hold of the Hornby one, but they weren't producing them when I wanted them, and now they go for ridiculous money on the internet. They obviously weren't that popular when they were being manufactured, so there's obviously not many of them out there, and collectors are snapping them up whenever they turn up on the internet. I looked fairly recently on an auction website and it was in excess of £300, which is just, in my eyes, is ridiculously steep for a model railway. For a collector I can understand why, especially if it's mint, but for a model railway it's ridiculously steep. Now when Bachmann decided to produce Oliver, I had a look at the images just to see if it really did look like Oliver, and in my opinion they've actually done a very good job of the television series Oliver. As with all Bachmann locomotives, or steam ones at least, the eyes move from left to right nice and slowly as it's travelling along the track. It's finished in a very high gloss finish, similar to Donald and Douglas, but the lettering and everything like that, picked out, handrails, all that sort of thing, is incredibly crisp. It's really, really sharp. There's no sort of paint bleed or anything like that. It's even one of the things I find with Bachmann especially, they put these little lamps on and things like that, and they look great. They look great from the television series. They do pick out the detail. There isn't anything really sort of separately fitted, but they really do pick out the detail. The lamp irons are there. You've got brake pipe there. The hook on this is probably oversized, I would say, considerably oversized for this model, but it doesn't take away from it. If I just turn Oliver around here, there you can see on the back we've got another lamp there. The painted lamp irons on there, they're not actually functional. You can see the vacuum brake pipe as well, the buffers are all there, and you can see all these little handrails and things are picked out lovely. Even a little coal load. They absolutely, I can't fault this for being what it is, especially at the price that Bachmann are producing them at. Now this trailing wheel has got quite a bit of play, but that's so that it can get around the curves and things. One thing I failed to mention on Donald and Douglas is the decouplings, unlike the Hornby ones, are sprung, which I've found actually works a lot better, especially when you're coupling up. It's not so abrupt and forceful when they're coupling up to rolling stock on the line, on the railway itself. As with the majority of Bachmann tank engines and things like that and diesels, it's mainly due to the motor mechanism and the eye mechanism and things. You can't get into the cab. It's completely solid. All the windows are solid, the sides are solid. You can't get in there. I'm sure there's a way, we'll have a look in the future, of doing something with that, but it doesn't really take away from the model. It is a very nice interpretation of Oliver, and it really, bearing in mind the Bachmann production is HO as opposed to a double O, so there is a slight difference in size with a lot of the things, but I've found that really it's not really that noticeable. And there is one locomotive we'll look at soon in another video, but that I can understand why they've done that. But if you have a look here, you can see just how crisp the lettering is there, and all of the detail that's been picked out with the paint. I've seen production models from model railway companies that some of the paintwork is just horrendous. It's awful, and it's bled through and things like that. And I've got to say that Bachmann have done a really good job with Oliver here, and most of the locomotives that we've purchased. But as I said, Oliver also has a brake van with him in the form of Toad. And when Bachmann produced this, I felt we had to get a hold of Toad as well. Hornby did make Toad, and similarly they're going for silly money. I think the last one I saw on an auction website was about £100, basically for a Toad brake van with the face on. There's no way on earth that I would pay that kind of money, and I would recommend that no one did, to be perfectly honest. But Bachmann have made a really good interpretation of Toad here. Even inside, and I don't know if it will pick it up on the camera, there's actually quite a phenomenal amount of detail inside there for Toad. One thing I did find a little strange, unlike the rest of their stock, these are fitted with NEM couplings, which can be removed, and they're very small coupling. Now, I have had a little bit of trouble with this particular coupling with the rest of the stock, and I think it's entirely feasible that I will change those couplings to the larger D shape. I don't want there to be derailments unnecessarily on the line and things like that. It ruins the fun if that's happening, especially for Aidan when this railway is getting built. We don't want things constantly derailing when they could be avoided. And there's Toad looking absolutely splendid. So I think we'll get them moving on the track, and we'll see who else is about today as well.